Guys, my name is Kira, and today we're going to learn how to make a login page, a working login page using PHP and HTML. So first of all, you need to create a PHP file called as an index file in your htdocs folder in your XAMPP file. Okay, so this is a new PHP page, so we're going to save it in htdocs. I'm gonna make a new folder called as tutorial. You can make it any folder you wanted to, and you have to save it in XAMPP htdocs, your folder name. I'm gonna save it as index.php. So first of all, just open the PHP tags, but you need a basic skeletal form, your basic login skeletal form. So for that you need HTML. So I'm gonna give it a title called as login portal, and basically you need a form. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is, where are you going to redirect the user once you have clicked on the login button? Okay, so we'll get to it later. First we'll create the basic login form. So input type is equal to text because the username is a text, so the name is username and the placeholder is username. So let's create another type called password, and the name is password. The placeholder is going to be stars. I basically use 8 stars because I think that's pretty good for it. And the last one we have is the submit button. Okay, name is login and value is login. Okay, so once you save it and open your localhost slash your folder name, that is tutorial. So here we have the basic login form. So first things first, according to me, you have to style this form. It's up to you. If you want to style this form using CSS, you can do it. If you don't want to, you can just skip it up. I'm going to do some basic styling by making this table at the center of the page and giving some padding and margin and making this button colorful. That is all I'm going to do styling. You can just see it quickly. So I'm gonna use the styling, inline style, not inline styling, internal styling. So for type is equal to text, and for input type is equal to password, I give padding 16 pixels, which is according to me good, and margin 8 pixels on all sides, and I'm gonna give it a border of 1 pixel, solid hash f1 f1 f1, and I'm gonna give it letter spacing of 1 pixel, and I think that's pretty, yeah, border radius 3 pixel. So once you've done it, it's gonna be something like this. You see that? The username fields and the password field. And now we're going to do it with a button. Input type equal to submit. We're going to give it a CSS. First of all, margin left is 8 pixels because we have given 8 pixels over here. And the next thing is its width is going to be basically I'm going to adjust this width is going to be 240 pixels, and this width is going to be 274 pixels. According, if this is 240, this should be 274 and vice versa. And it's going to have a border radius of 3 pixels just like that, and border is 1 pixel solid. This color, you see this hash color is the Gmail login button's hash color, and background color I'm going to give it the same. So once you click this, okay, I didn't give it a padding, so padding 16 pixels, and yeah, font color is white with font weight being 600. This makes the color white and this makes the color bolded. See, it's pretty cool. Yeah, and cursor is pointer, so it changes into a pointer while clicking on the login button. Okay, So let's forget about getting it into the center because we need to write the PHP for it. So before writing PHP for it, I want to create a table in my database so that a user can log in only if the username and password exists in the database table. So for that you have to go to localhost/phpMyAdmin, localhost/phpMyAdmin, and you see something like this. There's already a table called a database name called as test. Just click on this plus sign and you'll get this. Click on new. By this we'll be creating a new table. So what is the table name? Say users for tutorial. You can give it any name, and the first thing is ID. You have to have a column which is ID or aside serial ID or serial number or anything, and it has to be a primary key. I prefer this because so that I will know how many number of users are there. Instead of counting it one by one, if I get the latest last ID of the last user, that means that those are the number of users that are present in the database. So, and basically a username which will be a varchar. Varchar is like a variable character in SQL. It stands for variable character, and its size is length is 20, and the password is also going to be a variable character of size 20. And we need enough of this, nothing more, and we click on save. Once we click on save, this table will be created. As you can see, users underscore tutorial, and it is empty. If you click on browse, it will be empty. Okay, so let's create our first user. Okay, so first user, so serial ID is 1, username is test, and password is 123. Example. It's just an example. You can put anything you want. Okay, so once you have done that, let's get to the PHP side. Okay. So once we have created the form, first thing I have told you is action. Whether you want to redirect it to a new page or you want the user to come to the same page. Okay, so I want the user to come to the same page. For example, uh, for this example, we want the user to come to the same page. And the method is the way which you send the username that the user has typed and the password that the user has typed into the URL. Okay, so for example, if you click on get method, what happens is, just see, I click on username is test, password is 123. Since we have not given any PHP validation, nothing's gonna happen. So if you click on login, as you can see, username is test and password is 123 and login is login. So the fields that you have inserted just now will be visible in the URL. Okay, but if you give the method as post, okay, if you give the method as post, and if you type the, and if you go to this URL, and if you type the username as test and password as 123 and click on login, as you can see, there is nothing in the URL that mentions what username you have typed and what is the password you have typed. So for that particular purpose, we use post method for login purposes, especially because it is very secured and it has high amounts of security. Okay, so it comes to the same page. So you have to make sure that the page that the action is written in needs to have the page for login validation. Since the action is in the same page, we are going to write the login validation in this page only. Okay, so first things what you have to do is connect the database to this web page. So how do you do that? First thing, there are 4 things. That is host name, username, and password, and database name. Okay, host name is global for all people who use the local host, and the username is root, and the password is nil. These 3 fields are common for all the people who use XAMPP. If you're using WAMP, then that is something different that you have to Google up. And the database name, that is the database we have used, we can see it right over here. The table we have created is user underscore tutorials. That table is present in a cylindrical thing called the database whose name is test. So the database we are using is called as test. So we write it as test. Now we create a variable called as con. which is a connection variable. So what it does is mysqli underscore connect. So it connects this function, connects this page, that is this entire page, to this entire database called test. So how do you do that? By passing all these four variables inside this. First being the host name, then being the username, and then being the password, and then being the database name. Once you have done it, you can check if you're getting connected successfully or not. For example, if unable to connect. Okay, so if you refresh this page, yeah, if you if you go to this URL, as you can see, there is nothing called unable to connect. That means we have connected successfully. For example, if you write the database name as test, whereas when we don't have any database name test, and we refresh it, it says unable to connect. That is because there is an unknown database called test. Okay, so once we have connected to the database, now we have to connect to the table and access the information from the table. So that is possible using PHP. First thing is, if post. So what this does is, if the method used by the form is post, then execute it inside. Else, do nothing. Else you can just say die, not post. Okay, but we don't want it, so we'll be not using any instructions in else section. So if post, first thing is you have to get the username, that is username, uname, that is equals to post. Because we are using the post method, we will be using something called as $_post, which is a global variable, and a brackets. And the thing inside the brackets is the name you have given to the username. What is the name that we have given to the username? Username is the name that is given to this input. So in this brackets, we write it as username, and the password. Similarly to this, what is the name we have given to the password? Password. So we can just write it as password. Okay, so once you've got the usernames and the passwords, now the next thing is writing SQL statements to verify it from the given table. So we write it as like this: SQL is equals to select star from users underscore tutorial. So that is the name we've given it, users underscore tutorial, where username is equal to and password is equal to, where username, because the table name is username, so this username represents this table name, and this password represents this password. And in this single quotations, we write this username, that is uname, and here we write password. Okay, so and with a semicolon. Now if okay, sorry, we have something called as result. Result is equals to mysqli underscore query connection and SQL. That is, what it does is it executes this query, that is the query given in the SQL variable, in accordance with the connection variable, that is in accordance to the database. So it first makes sure that this user underscore tutorials is present in the database. If it is not, it raises an error. Okay, so once it's done, we have to make sure that there is at least one row, and there is only one row with username as this, that is the user has inputted, and the password as the password has inputted. So if mysqli underscore num underscore rows, excuse me, yeah, rows of result equal to 1, then echo welcome user, else echo incorrect username or password. It is as simple as that. Now you can just check it out. I just type in, just refresh this page, and I just type in the username as test and the password as 123, and I click on login. Welcome user. If I type the username as test and password as test itself, then it says incorrect username or password. You see that? But there's a bit problem with it. The problem is SQL injection. So what happens is, if I write test or 1 equal to 1 hash and copy paste it in the password field, it says welcome user, but that is incorrect, right? So for that particular purpose, there is something called as this. You have to write this statement, whatever I'm writing. This is known as uh, uh, securing. Okay, I'll write it as making sure that SQL injection doesn't work. Okay, so that code is uname is equals to mysqli underscore real escape of username, and password is equals to mysqli underscore real escape of password. Okay, so what this mysqli underscore real escape does is it removes all the single quotations. That is, see, for example, this is the thing we have written, right? Test is the username, single quotation, or so and so. So the entire thing changed because of this single quotation. Why did it change is, this is what happens when it is done. This is how this entire SQL statement is changed. Select, okay, I'll write it in the new line. Select star from users underscore tutorial, where username is equal to, what is the username that it has given? This, right? So I'll copy paste it right in this field. Okay, so what it does, username is equal to test or 1 is equal to 1 hash. So this hash is comment in, this hash is called as comment. So if I copy paste this in a real SQL statement like this, see, as you see, this entire statement is committed, so it is not even requesting to ask for a password. So what happens is the entire SQL is injected with just a single line. That is this just a single line of statement. So for that particular purpose, the entire thing changed because of that single quote, right? So what does mysqli underscore real escape does is, it removes those single quotes, spaces, these spaces, and this equal to's and these hashes from the field. Okay, so only the words will be present, and if you remove the single quote or the hash, and if you type it inside this, see what happens, it doesn't change. So it results in an error, invalid username or password. So now if you check it, that is, if you go back and if you do the real SQL injection this time, okay, test or 1 equal to 1 hash, I'm sorry, and copy paste it, see, fatal error. You see that it makes sure, excuse me, okay, I forgot the string, I'm sorry, mysqli underscore real escape underscore string. You see, mistakes happen, bro. See, it says incorrect username or password. I'll show you the actual function. Oh my god. Okay, so you need to give the connection. Okay, I forgot this. Okay, so if you go to this page, and if you go click the username as the test so and so and the password as this and click on login, it says incorrect username or password. But if you click test and 1 2 3, it says welcome user. So that's it for today, guys. This is how you create a login page which is very secure from SQL injection. Thanks for watching, and sorry for those mistakes, because even I learned from the mistakes, right? Yeah, thanks for watching, and this entire code will be in the description below. I mean, a link to this code will be in the description below. Thanks guys for watching, and stay awesome.